I had a client and he wanted something specifically one time, and I said, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. There's so many very sophisticated types of insurance that are out there. And it's interesting how complex these things are becoming. And I'm sure in the next 10 years we'll be like, oh, that's what they were talking about.
For people that are interested in taking their insurance exam to do insurance, I've got to tell you, I did my insurance exam. I thought I was taking law school, and to be perfectly honest,
Industry that will never go away. That's
Yeah.
always a good thing.
so what do you guys think about data security, and I mean, how do you handle that?
Dun, 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 dun.
I mean, we have to have a lot of secure systems on our side, but we, once again, store a lot of very pertinent information as far
Right, I mean,
as-
from your point of view,
Yeah.
it's actually more important than us, because you're talking social security is date of birth,
bank statements.
data security is in.
Some clients that I barely even call. I only text them. That's how you get a hold of them.
So if there's
But see, I do the same thing in insurance, but I always tell them, send me an email with that.
right, I agree with
Because I
that.
need to have the paper trail, well, it's not even paper anymore, but the email trail of what happened. Because text messages are still weird, but like you said, it's used very often.
Yeah, nowadays if you have to get a hold of a buyer, you have to really text them because they're always in the middle of something, right? Life is going too fast, so, you know, texting them is probably the main source. And although a lot of buyers, you know, decide sometimes to send you documentation, you always have to route them to the safest secure net as possible. At least that's my experience, like try
So-
to divert them to the safest.
I
way
personally think email is a safer
than
form.
text.
Nowadays, in 2 minutes, that we can't even think, that we can't even imagine them doing.
Right.
I mean, our phones are now very simply traceable to the point that they can disable them so quick that you wouldn't even be able to track it. And all that data that's inside, it's tricky. It's very tricky. But what do you think, Mr. Williams, the best way to secure our phones and tablets and computers? I mean, because my biggest thing is we carry tablets, computers, phones, and I always think about it. I never go out of the country without my computer because I never know when I'm going to need it and what could happen. So literally to me, it's like,
Well,
I treasure it.
right. My mother's very sick in England. She's got dementia, so she's in England. She's in a nursing home, and every time I go to England,
alerted me that the network at the hotel, which is not a crappy hotel, keep in mind, was not a secure network to be connected on.
Notice everybody, he can afford the good hotels. Okay.
Well, I thought yours was good too. Mine was a half a star. So I think that we have to be careful. Like a lot of people I see at coffee shops, Starbucks, or whatever around, and they're always working on their laptops, and I always
Yeah, well,
wonder, where are
that's
you
actually,
connected?
that fascinates me because my wife is one for going into Starbucks, getting a laptop out.
We love Starbucks, yes, yes.
Right, and then she'll meet with her students, and they, you know, there they are tapping away, and I often think, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, you're super
You're in
vulnerable.
you're in an area that, you know,
So you know another
I don't know
thing-
what they're working on mine, but
But I tell you one thing that I am afraid the most of is like you have your laptop right here. Anybody looking behind you can see everything you're doing and capture what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I, the other day, ran into a buddy of mine who had a privacy screen on the laptop. And I thought, holy moly, this is good. Like when you're out there places working on anything, anybody around you can see what you're doing. And like you mentioned, sometimes we carry bank statements from clients, driver licenses or whatever. This is data at the end of the day. People want to have these things.
All it takes is one camera behind you and then just to walk past you and they got whatever was on the screen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, and from the insurance point of view, I worried all the time because I don't know what one of my clients can be sued for one day. I had a client that got sued for putting a soccer game on a TV in the restaurant because a client asked him to. The client was not a client. The client was somebody who wanted to put a lawsuit, and they do this, okay? Companies who have pay-per-views or whatever, I guess they have people that go out there. So this guy said, okay, just go to YouTube or whatever, just screen it on the TV, I want to watch this soccer game. About 3.5 months later, he got sued for putting that soccer
didn't
game on the
pay for
TV
it?
because he didn't pay for it. He didn't have a license for it. Long story short, he keeps getting notices and he didn't pay attention to it because he's like, what the hell is this? Like, what are these people talking about? Like, I mean, what is it? Anyhow, that little thing went up to almost $35,000 lawsuit.
And
The insurance did not pay for it because there's no
exactly
coverage.
Was suing him.
The company who he should have paid to be able to view or put that on the TV.
Broadcast.
Exactly. So it was very interesting because the insurance does not cover that because that's a very particular claim, but they did cover the legal fees from the lawyer, from the attorneys or everything that had to deal with that. But the point is, the client now is even afraid of putting anything on TV because he does not know whether it be legal or not.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can get sued over.
Yeah, and like he called me. And he was,
errors and omissions is the biggest, you know, I think.
So-
can legally own an anaconda, you know
You
that, right?
can.
Yeah.
Yes, in the
can.
state of Texas, you
And
are
you
allowed
can
to.
legally own poisonous ones too. You
Sure.
just have to get a permit.
So see, the thing is for insurance, I tell
How
people.
about an elephant?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
But
I
tell
love
you,
elephants.
I
if
know
you-
giraffes because I know I went up to Dallas and there was a ranch out there that had
You have to have
giraffes.
special permits, but you can. But it has to. Anyhow, the point is, I tell people, you need to pick a good agent that you can have a good relationship with. I tell people, I love new clients, but I love to be able to have a good relationship with a client. Because I tell them, look, if you and I are not going to be able to get along, this is not going to work. Because I want to be able to get a phone call and tell me, hey, look, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, what do you think? And I want to do the same thing when I have to tell them something. I want to call them and I don't want them to be like, oh, he just wants to charge me more. I believe in having a good relationship with the agent because that is how you're going to be covered the proper way. Just like you have a good CPA, like you have a good attorney, a good banker,
Your loan officers.
your loan officers, you have that one realtor that's always looking out for you. That is
Steven.
part of the pack. You have to have a good insurance agent and have a good relationship with them. Yeah, sometimes you have to switch around because premiums and whatnot, but you have to understand how that works as well. But going back to the big tigers in the backyard, yeah, it's terrible, but so whenever you rent out a house, you have to be very specific on what type of tenant, what type of insurance your tenant should have. And I always tell people, you have to try to make sure they get a waiver of subrogacy, so that in the case of a lawsuit, they can try to stay away from suing you.
So-
Okay?
If this person was to lease their house out and they ask if they had any pets, and on that lease they put that they did not, is that homeowner still liable?
Well, I'm guessing that would be a grounds to terminate that contract. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Because we was talking about something yesterday in our house,
Oh.
all right? It just so happened that she couldn't find her snake. And her snake went missing for how many days?
About 3 days, and it probably
Around
took
3
me
days, and
about
she was
20
doing
hours
her
to
best
find
to
it.
tidy the house up and whatever, and look for this snake. And
Oh,
she
I was
couldn't
not
find it.
tidying it up, I was ripping stuff out.
Okay. But she gradually found it. If that snake, and it's not a venomous snake, in all fairness to Courtney.
It's a coral?
No, it's a rainbow boa. It's about
It's a rainbow boa.
No, it's
yeah,
a
it's about
copperhead.
6 feet long right now.
Yeah.
It'll
And in
choke you.
all fairness,
Exclude anything that the animal does. So they will exclude it.
I don't think a lot of people know, but anything other than a dog and a cat is an exotic pet.
Pretty much. Because you have to consider the property you're living in. Like me, I can't necessarily insure farm and ranch because I'm not an expert at that. I don't have the carriers for that. But they would have the proper coverage for such. So it depends where you are. A lot of different things is the type of insurance you should have.
Do you think there's a lot that don't
that are
really go
uninsured.
over it with their insurance
I
agent?
wouldn't be surprised because I see it all the time. People just need new business. Like I see a lot of agencies that all they want is, look, and bringing a new client means get them to sign up. But that's part of the business. But the problem is when something happens, what's going to happen to you and the client? Williams says it's errors and omissions. You never asked. You never told me to tell you anything. So I always ask people, how many pets do you have? I don't ask them if they have pets. I ask, how many pets do you have? Because when you ask, do you, they're going to hesitate with, I wonder why he's asking. I'll say no, because I don't have a pet. But if you tell them, oh, well, how many pets do you have? Oh, I've got 2. It's a quick
Yeah,
answer.
and to back you up what I've said, when we're renting properties to tenants, we say, do you have any pets? And they go, no, I've got no pets. And then
out that there are people that before they buy houses or cars or whatever is more priority, they get into loans for a pet.
Well, that's what this company
And
does.
that's like
They finance you a
$8,000,
pet?
And this
$10,000.
olding sheepdog that I told you about, they wanted $10,000 for it.
And they can be financed
That is
just like
water.
a vehicle.
And they're going to finance, they offer you the financing.
5 years,
Well,
3 years,
yeah.
up to 7 years, I
yeah,
think.
for
It's like buying a
200,
car
for
almost.
I was gonna say, that's
for $273, you can
I
buy
wonder
this
what the
pet.
interest rate on that was. Was it today's market price?
It's about 19%, 21%.
It's cheaper
like a
than some
credit
credit
card.
cards.
My
Well,
goodness.
it's a store credit card.
Hey, but you know, some people will do that and more for the pets. I mean, yeah.
You've only got to go to a vet and see how much money travels across the table.
Well, I mean, pet insurance can be $300 a month easily. So imagine.
And with pet insurance, and
It's
confirm
more than
me if
that when
I'm
you got
right,
3 of them.
they will not cover previous conditions.
They
Right.
will not cover previous conditions, that is correct.
Interesting.
So
Well-
like if the family, like if the dog's dad had like an issue, would they cover that or no? It's like,
I just think you
Like
wouldn't,
regular
you wouldn't
insurance.
discuss that.
The way that they explained it to me, because one of my dogs got injured by one of my other dogs because they were, playing or whatever. So they did mention to me that if I got insurance on my girl dog, that particular injury was not going to be covered. Like in the
See?
future, like everything else would be covered, but past existence,
Like
that
any
condition,
It's like
no.
health insurance for humans.
Yeah,
Any pre-existing
right.
condition is not covered. So if the dog is suffering from hip whatever issues,
Hip dysplasia.
yeah, it wouldn't be covered on there. So. It's
But
interesting.
what caught my attention was that the more that I looked into it, these pets can get financed up to 5-7 years, and it's like a car payment, $200, $300,
But
$500.
it's basically a personal loan.
Now, would that count against you if you're trying to make a big purchase, like a home?
Yeah, absolutely.
It will count against
One of the
you.
biggest things that you pertain when you do go through
So there's a lot of premium finance companies that,
Uh-huh.
if you're a restaurant, it's gonna-
ideas and stuff like that.
correct. I use them a lot. They're a pretty good company, and they'll finance 25,000, 30,000, whatever amount you need for a 12-month period. Would that go into, for instance, somebody who's trying to buy a property under an LLC or something? Would that affect them? I mean, 'cause
I
sometimes
don't think
those-
so.
I mean, sometimes
Because it's
those can be
under,
hefty. So
well, that's an attorney question in all fairness, but I think that, I just want to point out, we do not give legal advice on this program. It's just an opinion that we're talking about, so
interesting about trust is now that you mentioned, it's not easier to insure anything under a trust. It's more complicated.
There's more parties involved, right?
Well, not every company wants to
You're
insure
on
a
about, you're on about a
trust.
living trust?
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. Even in the residential side of things, I have had many clients who I have said, hey, look, let me see who wants this risk, because it's now on a trust. I had it on a personal level, now for some reason they put it on a living trust or whatever, and not everybody wants them.
Do
So
you know
there's
what
a,
kind of extra risk there are involved with it being in the trust?
it's how they get paid out, I guess. I mean, because you gotta think about, somebody's gotta get paid if this happened. So who's gonna get paid if it's a living trust? There's more pieces to it than if it's just, okay, well, it's gonna be a check cut to Mr. Williams.
I'm always under the impression that people use living trusts to avoid paying I know somebody who owns an $80,000 condo and he's got a living trust because he doesn't want to pay any capital. Of course you can.
So hurricane season is coming up. Don't wait too long to get the flood insurance. Flood insurance takes 30 days to go into effect. So anybody days for that insurance to go into effect.
Yeah, and the point that I want to say is anywhere south of Beltway 8 or I-10, them are the areas that you really need to.
So we were remapped about 2 years ago, and a lot of places that were not flood zones became flood zones, and some that were flood zones now are not. They put a different variant of whatever section
And
that
that,
they put it in.
but that's all the way through Texas. A lot
That's
of-
right.
A lot of the flood zones
Too expensive to purchase, because once you buy it, you will get a small increase every month. But if you don't have it and it becomes a flood zone, then you might be paying equally for taxes than for the flood insurance. So be careful, don't wait.
Let me ask you one other question. I probably
And the residential side, and I am thinking also that moving into the commercial, it'll be better in the Houston area, especially because of property taxes, insurance hikes. I mean, revenue is pretty much not there. So after you pay the management, after you pay repairs, taxes, insurance, you're talking about you might be making 10%.
right.
So it's like, okay, I have all this risk, like if somebody bites the mailman outside my house and it comes back to me and I'm out $10,000 after everything, I mean, I will have no revenue.
Right.
So it's a situation that it's not maybe in general, but in some cases, it might be smarter to sell those $700,000 that you can get out of those 2 homes or whatever, and put it into a commercial that the risk is less perhaps, because you put it out into the tenants and everything else. But, you know, it's all depending on the risk of the person.
Absolutely. And then one of the things that I want to bring up is I read an article yesterday, and I think this article
I don't know if it's increased rentals yet, especially for the people that have just refinanced, you know, a year or two ago, but it's made it where people have definitely thought twice about moving. Most people that are moving are moving in are gonna be your first time home buyers, or they have a reason, job location, change, or, you know, going to a bigger house, because why would you wanna go and get something with 5 and 6% instead of 2?
Right, but this is what brought it up, okay? Spoke to my accountant recently, and there's one property I've got, it's the oldest property I've got. I've had it for over 27 years now, which means it's been fully depreciated over 27 and a half years. He's advised me, he says, you know, perhaps it's the time for you to sell this house. But the truth of the matter is, if I'm lucky, because it's a little condo, I might get 85, 90. But the truth of the matter is, I've got nothing to move up to. You know, so it creates a problem. Now, Kay over there, I'm going to pick on. Kay is, I'm sure we got to know that she's involved in social media. If anybody wants anybody to do some great social media for her, you know, you can reach her through the show. Just don't take her away from us, because we love her. But basically, how old are you, Kay?
28.
So she's 28. So she wants to buy her first house. Correct, Kay?
Eventually.
Right. So what should Kay do? What should Kay do to buy her first house? What's the first thing she should do?
Steven told me he slept on the floor for 6 months.
I did when I got here. That's what I did. I slept on the floor eating Spam sandwiches for 6 months, saving up the money that I worked for, because I needed to. That's really what I wanted to do. And that's what I think is. I'm sorry, Gen Zs and millennials, whatever you want to call yourself, but you know, and you can't be entitled. You've got to work for every single penny that you get. But the truth of the matter is, I slept on the floor. I wouldn't even buy a bed. Do you know the first thing I bought?
Lifetime
a
supply of
TV.
spam.
Lots of
A
wrong.
TV, just something so I could look at. I don't stand around.
Really?
No.
My kids
What
love
do you
it.
like ramen?
Oh no. So, to advise Kay, a 28-year-old, to purchase a house, what would you recommend her to do?
Get in touch with a really good loan officer first, to go over her specific situation and figure out what's hindering her now to be able to qualify and what steps she needs to take
what's your view, Kay, of what's stopping you buying a house? Is it not knowing the first step?
No, it's just money.
Okay, as in credit or
Yeah,
deposit?
I think I would say credit probably, and it's just it's hard when you're renting too, just because the renting market is very, it's kind of high, right? Like rent is pretty high right now for the average person, so it makes it really hard. So unless I get some roommates or something, that's kind of something that hinders me from being able to.
Tie them in.
Right? No. I'll live with my mom before I get a roommate.
I've got to tell you, can I tell you a funny story?
Go for it.
Involves Kay. All right.
Okay, you're
Kay
so lucky.
moved into one of our units, and I'll be honest with you, I've never told her this, but Kay's personality is wonderful, okay? I love Kay's personality. I would be so upset if she came away from the show or even left us as a tenant, but I hope that she buys a house. I hope that's her dream, and I hope that all her dreams come true. So she says to me, well, I'm moving into the apartment, and I'm moving into the apartment on a Saturday at 2 o'clock. She says, can you please be there? I said, well, I work on a Saturdays. I always come in and do my paperwork on a Saturday. I said, I'll see you over at the property at 2 o'clock. So I turn up to the property at 2 o'clock, and outside the unit I see all this commotion, and all of a sudden an 18-wheeler pulls up. And she said she was coming with a brother from Austin, but she didn't say that her brother has an 18-wheeler.
Is that how you moved?
Yeah.
You moved basically in a limo, girl.
All right. She moved in an
Five-star.
18-wheeler, and everybody comes running
Five-star
out.
service.
We manage this HOA, and everyone's running out. Is there a problem? Is there a problem with this 18-wheeler? And so I'm running around going, no. It's just one of our tenants moving in, and her brother's helping her out. And they're going, in an 18-wheeler?
How much did you actually fill up
I was
your
gonna ask
stuff?
that.
Nothing. It was just
It was a one bit.
and I was like,
He
why
did
did
have a
you
loft.
bring this huge truck? And he was like, well, I was gonna pick up a load on the way, so that's why I brought this, because it was huge. I was like, we don't need all of this. He was like,
And actually,
"Oh, well."
I counted the wheels. It wasn't an 18-wheeler, it was a 20-wheeler.
Yeah, it was so much, because he was going to pick up a load on the way back, but he ended up not doing it because he was like, you have too much stuff, so I can't even pick up stuff. And I was like,
I even went home and told my wife the story, even she thought it was funny.
it was funny. They were like, was there an accident? I remember somebody came out and they were like, has there been an accident? And you're like, no, someone's just moving in. It was funny.
Oh, you moved in style, girl.
She did move in style.
She did it quick too, though. I mean, one trip.
Exactly. I was like, I am not coming back here. I brought my brother, my stepdad, my uncle.
Have you guys ever noticed how much stuff we hold till we move? When you have to move from
Do you
one
know-
place to another, it is insane.
I've got to tell you something that's said. When my mum went into her home, we went back to England in 2000. It was sort of during the COVID times with all the COVID restrictions. And in 14 days, I've never had a COVID stick up my nose so many times. But because in England, in England, well, you go into the nursing home and it's like, I mean, honestly, and then when you travel, it was just nuts. But when you dig through all the stuff that your parents gather over the years, my dad was one for collecting all the stuff that I did when I was doing Olympics, and even as a kid, the first little trophy I won, my first pair of skates in the dumpster. What do you do with it? How do you even get it through customs? But it was heartbreaking, and even
So
now.
do they have garage sales over there too?
They may, but they're definitely not as popular as they are over here.
I think a garage sale is torture. It's too much work.
Personally, I don't
did it
like.
once. I did it once, and that was it.
And fall cleaning. Spring cleaning
By
and
the-
fall cleaning.
by the
I
time-
don't have many stuff.
by the time you have to
Thing.
set everything up, and then you
I'll
only
keep-
sell a certain number of items, and now you gotta figure out what to do with the rest of it, it's not even
The
worth
day
it.
the one time I did it, I just literally looked at everybody come in, and now I was like, oh God. I said no. I put a jar. I said it's $5. Just dump it in there, because it was so much work. And at the end, I was like, gosh, all this.
And
things are
then you
still
get
here.
then you get some little kid run up, grab the jar and run off.
Well, you know, I would have given it to them. I almost paid the last guy, to take everything with him and just take the jar too. I didn't want anything because I had to put it back. So if you don't get rid of it, you got to put it back somewhere. So the guy that came last said, "Hey, would you like to take everything that's here right now?" And he's like, "For how much?" I said, "Just take it. I want to go inside." And I
Hold the
never.
table,
So-
put it in the garage.
Yeah.
I know, I had the very interesting experience of having to clean out my great aunt's 2-bedroom apartment that she had lived in since '93.
Oh God.
When did you clean it?
I was gonna ask.
Within
Yeah.
the last year, we just did it.
30 years.
And I got my mom, which I call her a pack rat as well. And she's like, "Oh, this could be worth something. This could be worth something." I was like, "No, donate, donate, donate." And I was taking boxes out
You know,
left
so
and right.
so I insure this company that they will come out to your house and clean all the mess that you might need to be cleaned. And they do closets, they do everything. And it's really cool because the girl actually likes to clean messes. Like she'll tell me, "I love a messy pantry." And I'm like, "For
Can I
real?"
have her number, please?
Get with me and I'll give it to you, because literally I was like, "Girl, okay." She says she loves cleaning the laundry rooms. You know how we just throw everything in the laundry room and sticks there. So I come in there and I make it look beautiful, and I'm like, all right. So
she
my wife
considers-
does not know I know this girl, but
That doesn't sound very good.
Is she a professional organizer then?
pretty much, yeah,
Because you do have these home editor shows.
absolutely.
Your wife's
Yeah.
like, who are you texting? You're like, I'm just trying to get the house clean.
No, my housekeeper does wonders, but this girl, like, she specializes in coming and organizing your closets, things of that nature, and it's really cool. And she's showing pictures, and it's impressive. So I'll give you her number.
I need it.
Yeah, we all need that number. So, anything else you want to bring up, girls?
I think I'm good. What about you, Laura?
How about the Fed rate going up yesterday?
Fed rate.
2.5% Fed rate. Come on, what's your feeling on that? I made a little bit of money on my stocks because the stocks shot up, and then so I sold some of them, and then they dropped down, and,
Well, we
and then
had a
I bought them
little-
again.
Scenario that.
So we were really worried about that meeting. So we went and we were like, let's lock all of our loans. Yes. And then honestly, they might be going up 25 basis points, but they basically
They
swept.
went down, didn't they?
They swept under the rug, you know,
Yes.
the lenders, the banks that are going under in Silicon Valley and stuff. So they acted like that was not a big deal. It's not gonna, you know, hinder everybody else. So the market got good.
Do you feel? Do you
And it
feel?
actually helped buyers that were already in the pipeline or about to close. Like we were
If somebody's
able to
locked,
save
if
them
somebody's locked
considerably.
their loan, and then all of a sudden it goes to a lower rate, can you?
There's something called a float down rate. So that's something that I was actually able to help two of my buyers that were about to close next week.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, when it drops, and you know there's certain criteria depending on the lender, you know we were able to still help buyers, you know, take an advantage of that lower rate.
So what happens is, like in the scenario, let's just say we lock the loan and it's pretty high, let's just say 6%, and then the market just happens to go down and keeps going down. As long as we're in that lock period and it's, you know, certain criteria of how much that it's went down, we can actually get them that lower rate before we close.
Now explain something to me, because I cannot for the life of me, honestly, I've never been able to understand. The Fed puts the rate up, all right, so they put it up 0.25%, correct? That rate has nothing to do with mortgage rates, correct?
Well, it's a mixture of everything. So whenever you're talking about rates, you have to consider inflation. Not only the feds have an action, like jobs, you know, like everything comes into play. So that's why we have been seeing, you know,
And then banks going under.
and then banks going under. So it's a mixture. It's a recipe. It's a mixture
Well,
of
this
a
is
lot
where,
of
this
things
is where I
that
get
causes
political.
it, right?
If Trump hadn't deregulated the banks, all right, this wouldn't have happened. Because I think the Quality Mortgage Act that Obama did, everybody bitched about it. Everybody said how mean it was. But what he put in with the Quality Mortgage Act, I think stopped that and would have resolved this entire issue, because originally, apparently, you don't get the small banks going out of business as much and they don't get the help. But like a small bank is considered 50 billion, can you believe that? You know, the big multi-billion banks is what considered what now. They raised it from 50 billion to 200 billion, all right? But if there was a problem with the banks this time, do you think they should be bailed out?
That's what you ask, right?
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
It's a personal opinion because, I mean,
I don't think they should be. Because last time what happened, directors of the bank gave themselves bonuses, bought shares, you know, and you always buy what when there's blood on the streets. And they
They bail 'em out.
taxpayers.
Yeah. Opinion is, I think there should have been I think there could have been a better remedy. I'm not saying that, you know, but I do think that there should have been a better remedy, you know, to that. So back to my question, you think you've got off the hook? Well, what, if it happens again, what do you think should happen?
It just depends where the economy is at, right? I mean, I could probably say bail them out, but is that the right choice?
Last
my
time,
opinion really doesn't count,
last
you know?
time they supposedly all paid the money back, but the directors still had all these
Did it
shares.
really happen? No.
I don't think they really paid it back. Let me ask you another question as well, and I don't know if you follow crypto at all.
I do.
You do. Let me ask you a question. Crypto's gone up. Was it 70% since January the 1st? Why do you think crypto's gone up?
So it's a mixture of things, like Laura said. It's a lot of things going on to crypto. But the thing is, they're trying to regulate it, and now they're trying to change systems that were old and put new systems in. And crypto is just in the middle right now. So people are not sure what's going to
Become more valuable when it's regulated? Because I do, because what I think is happening is, if people lose faith in the banks, you can already buy a house with crypto.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
happened. So you can already buy a house with crypto.
So the problem
you
is
can buy a Tesla car with crypto.
can. And there's countries that their currencies are crypto, like my home country, El
You know.
Salvador.
Right,
You get there and literally the ATM says buy crypto.
right.
So about it is, and this is just my opinion, so this has nothing to do with professional nothing. That we're not necessarily clearly aware of what's going on. Crypto is always going to be there, and it's not necessarily going to sink. You got to be careful what type of crypto you're buying, because
You've got to be careful with at what point you get in.
right, because I was farming bitcoins back in 2008.
I'm like, I want to come to your house if you're farming
So
crypto.
Liv's got a whole garage, and she's farming crypto. She's making 15,000 a day, but back before crypto went down so much.
Right.
So there's ways of doing things, and I have crypto because I farmed it, and I mean I got whatever amount of crypto that I didn't have to buy it. I produced it.
We have one agent who's in Argentina, where her and her husband are down in Argentina farming crypto.
El Salvador to use volcano energy. What are they? And they're designated a portion of the country where there's enough thermal energy to actually build everything to be ran from thermal energy and start farming, because El Salvador is buying a Bitcoin a day. So what they want to do is to start farming Bitcoins instead, using the natural resources.
Right.
So going back to your question, crypto is not going to go anywhere. But once the United States pushes out the digital dollar, I don't know what's going to happen with crypto, because that's going to happen here soon, because it's just bound to. Now, should you buy? If you understand what you're doing, why not?
Do you think soon as America adopts the US digital dollar, that people trust the government enough?
They're not going to adopt it. They're going to put it.
But do you think people are going to trust it enough?
Do people trust the government?
That's my point.
It's like the COVID vaccine. They're just gonna make you have it, otherwise you
problem
won't be
is-
allowed to go to certain places.
The problem
Americans, you don't trust anything.
Right, but right
No.
now crypto's not regulated, and that's what the government doesn't like. They can't regulate it. They cannot charge taxes on it. They cannot do a lot of things, so they're being
You
left
can
out.
sue crypto, did you know that?
I'm sure you
You
can. I don't know
can.
how far you can
Sue
get it, but
Sue crypto.
My daughter works at a law firm that they specialize in suing crypto.
yeah. So
It's
there's-
just interesting because
there's-
when she got
yeah.
into that business, I was like, "You work where exactly?"
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting."
But I think crypto at the end of the day is still going to stick around. It's a new era. It's a new time. I mean, we're going towards digital everything. So our paper money eventually, I don't think we're going to have any. That's where we're going, I think.
I mean, in reality, how much money do you have in your wallet?
What, crypto wallet?
No, just regular wallet.
I have
Paper money.
$12.
Yeah, you got more than I did.
I got about 15.
I
Yeah.
always keep $12.
My
Wow.
kids will always ask me for money. I'm like, you know, I don't keep no money in my wallet.
Yeah.
What happens when you go to the strip club and then you just like, hold on, let me send you some money to your big
What are
money
you
real
mean
quick.
sending, Ken?
I know. I was like, what?
What are you?
Hey, but, you know, I got.
Because you know, like when they
You go like
you
that.
throw the money,
What?
exactly. So
I